Ariana brought up something on this album that I think is very important for me to ask you since you're in a relationship. So do you have that hood love?
Okay, Sherman Oaks does not count as hood.
No.
But Jennifer does come from, the area across the tracks in Dallas. So is that 50% from the hood?
Yeah, I mean, I think all you need to know is that one of you is from the hood to have that hood love.
Yeah, we got the hood love.
Maybe Jennifer hasn't experienced that hood love, but you've experienced her hood love.
That's right.
I think that's how that works.
She does not have that hood love.
No, she doesn't, but you do.
I do.
So you can relate to Ariana's message in that song.
Yeah, I'm going to get canceled for that.
We're not going to get canceled. She said it.
I didn't realize that Ariana is, I believe, ancestrally Italian or like background. Her background
is Italian.
Which I did not realize.
Yeah.
I didn't. Before I was like, I don't know what she is.
Yeah.
Because like she's been everything kind of.
Right. She's been every race.
Yeah. But I did not realize she's Italian.
I'm every woman, literally. She is Italian. And I want to bring up this. I think it's a tweet about Alessia Cara, who I assume you don't know.
Well, no, I've heard that name, but I haven't heard her music.
I assume not, but maybe you did.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I might have.
The tweet said that it was somebody finding out Alessia Cara isn't black. She's just super Italian. And I think of that all the time, of super Italian to describe somebody. And I think Ariana Grande is super Italian as well. I don't know if she's second generation Italian American, but I know I think her family has come here later than you would expect.
Well, that's interesting because I feel like a lot of people hear the name Grande and think, oh, Hispanic.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, some people make the argument that Italians are Hispanic.
Right.
I won't, but some people will.
Yeah. I won't make that argument, but I will say you can see how they would make that.
Yeah.
Considering
But yeah, so to recap, you have experienced that hood love. I have not, I don't think.
You never know.
Maybe someday I'll experience that hood love. Welcome back to the Uncultured Pop Culture Podcast. My name is Brandon.
And this is David, as usual.
And this is an interesting episode for you. You may be wondering, what do these two things have in common? And I don't think anything really.
Nothing at all.
The dinosaurs are dangerous. Women are dangerous, apparently.
Or this one woman is dangerous.
Yeah.
And I will say, there's a connection that, the T-Rex from Jurassic Park is a female.
That's true. All of them are. All the dinosaurs
from Jurassic
Park
all of them
are female. So shout out to all the dangerous women, all the queens in Jurassic Park.
Right.
Yeah, but there's not really any connection here. We were just we should do a classic.
Two classics. Two defining films, I would say.
Well, pieces of media.
Two defining pieces of media from their time that have influenced other things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And up until last week, you had not heard Dangerous Woman, correct? I've not seen Jurassic Park, I could say that.
Well, I'd heard one song from the album.
One song, which was Into You. Yeah, we'll get to that later.
Yeah, which you showed me. But then a couple of weeks ago, I want to say, at this point, I was like, I should listen to some more of this. And by that point, I knew that we were going to listen to it, for this episode.
Yeah.
But I was just intrigued and I wasn't listening to it in the capacity of, what are my thoughts on this for the podcast? I was just I want to just see what it's like. And yeah, I'm not going to get into what I thought, but...
Yeah, because I have to ask you what you watched in this past week first.
That's right. I watched Spinal Tap. Or This is Spinal Tap.
This is.
Which, have you heard of that?
I have.
Okay.
I've never seen it, of course.
It's really fun. It is really fun.
It's Rob Reiner, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rob Reiner, starring a bunch of the actors that would be in a lot more of those sort of mockumentary films. Mm-hmm. Like Christopher Guest, who would go on to direct a lot of them. Also, incidentally, Jamie Lee Curtis's husband.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And Michael McKean, who's in Better Call Saul. A really great cast. And I liked it. It wasn't the best thing I've ever seen, but it was still really fun. I do kind of feel that it suffers from being the first mockumentary.
Oh yeah, I get that.
Yeah, but it's
setting
still
the tone.
Yeah, it's still very, very funny, and I recommend, especially if you like caricatures of rock stars and stuff like that. Yeah. But what did you listen to?
I haven't been listening to that much. I've been kind of catching up on a bunch of EPs that I missed.
But I mean, that's listening.
Yeah. I mean, nothing like no big like albums or anything. They're really, I don't know. I feel like we're kind of in a drought for music right now. Like there hasn't been anything huge where I'm like, this is like life changing.
Yeah.
So I listened to a few EPs.
Ever since Gaga's album came out.
Yeah. None of them were notable. So I don't really have anything to say necessarily, but it's New Music Friday tonight.
So you never know.
Yeah. So there might be a bunch of new great stuff that I'm going to listen to for next pod.
That's interesting. Like comparing it to last year, because it wasn't last year kind of like every week there was.
Last year was crazy.
Yeah.
It seems to go in cycles. I've noticed it goes in year cycles, but not by the year. It's usually by the like half of the year. So it'll be like the fall of one year into the spring of the next year is really good, and then the next fall and spring are really bad. So then it just kind of like cycles back and forth.
So we're kind of in the bad section right now.
We're in the bad section, yeah. And last fall was not great either, so I'm assuming this fall it'll like start to pick up more.
The last summer was really like explosive.
There was a lot, yeah.
Yeah, let's get into it.
We start off with Dangerous Woman, which is the third album by Ariana Grande. She had released Yours Truly back in 2013. She released My Everything in 2014, and this album on May 20th, 2016. This one is executive produced by Max Martin. Shout out connection to Kesha.
Right.
Savin Kotecha, who we have not had a connection with yet, but if we do One Direction, he's extremely influential in all of their music.
Right. Which I want to say too, Max Martin is going to be a connection to like 90% of the music we listen to probably.
90% of the pop music, for sure.
Oh yeah, pop music, yeah.
So yeah, executive produced by Max Martin, Savin Kotecha, and Ariana Grande. The lead single was Focus, which it was for the album called Moonlight. Focus was scrapped because it didn't do very well. It sounded a lot like Problem.
Right.
It's not that good of a song. And then you may also realize that Moonlight is not the name of this album, but it is a song on the album.
Yep.
It was changed, but it's unclear if the album was like scrapped, like if Moonlight was a project that existed and then they took like parts of it to make Dangerous Woman or not.
Yeah.
So unclear on that.
It kind of sounds like the production of this album was kind of all over the place.
Somewhat,
based off that.
Yeah, but I think it ended up being like, I think she always had a vision for it, it seems like, but the vision just like changed as she was making more music, it seems.
Which
also,
makes sense considering it's only her third album. You know, she's...
Yeah, and you know how old she was? I just learned this today.
I mean, I feel like because she's been famous since, you know, she was like 10, you know, from being a Disney teen.
Nickelodeon.
Or Nickelodeon, oh, sorry.
Yeah.
All the fans are going to go crazy. Being a Nickelodeon teen. Because of that, it kind of feels like, you know, to me, she should be 40, even though she's probably only like 20.
She's 31 now, so which means that she was 22 when this album came out. Or I think she's 21 because she wouldn't have had her birthday yet.
That's really young.
Yeah. So
we're both older than her right now.
Exactly. So I was thinking about that and I was kind of like, oh, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
You know, like, but it's also crazy that she like produced this when she was younger
it's
than
crazy
us.
that at this age, this was her third album.
Yeah, that's
you know?
also wild.
Yeah.
So Focus was scrapped from the album, but it ended up appearing as a bonus track in the Japan versions of the album. Because for some reason, I've never looked this up. So any of our listeners, if you feel like looking this up and just learning on your own, for some reason, Japan always gets extra songs. And I don't know why, but it's always for Japan for some reason.
They like being extra. What can I say?
I guess so. And it's kind of cool, but it's also like, why can't I get those extra songs, you know?
Which it's also interesting how they get extra songs nowadays when everything is just available right away online.
Yeah.
It's like, what is the point of that even? Everyone can get it.
I really don't know. But shout out to Japan. They got Focus on the album.
Hell yeah.
So I have a quote here from Ariana. She says, "Moonlight is a lovely song and it's a lovely title. It's really romantic and it definitely ties together the old music and the new music. But Dangerous Woman is a lot stronger. To me, a dangerous woman is someone who's not afraid to take a stand, be herself, and to be honest." The new lead single was Dangerous Woman then. That was released on March 11th, 2016. In case you've noticed so far, that's only 2 months before the album, which is quite short.
Yeah, especially because this wasn't the time frame anymore where, you know, the singles would be released right before the album, right? This is a different era.
We're kind of like transitioning into the like shorter release cycles. I don't know. I can't speak for like other albums around this time, but this one does feel very short. But then also you have to think about Focus being one of the songs which came out the previous year.
That's true.
So there was a little bit more time to get into this era. It was preceded by one more single, which was Into You, on May 6th, 2016, right before the album. 2 singles came out after the album, which were Side to Side in August and Every Day in January of 2017.
I feel like all of those songs make sense as singles.
I agree.
Yeah.
There are a few other ones I feel like definitely could be singles on here.
They could. But it's kind of like, you can't have like all the album be singles. So you got to make a choice kind of.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, these days people are trying to do, I mean, it depends.
Yeah.
You either do one song before the album comes out or you do 7 out of 10, you know, like
Which
go crazy.
I don't really like.
I agree. This was a critical and commercial success. It was nominated for 2 Grammys, and she also won Artist of the Year at the AMAs.
Oh, damn.
That was thanks to this album, because this was a huge moment in her career.
Right.
It was her most successful album at the time, which it's now been surpassed. I don't know if by every single album that she's done, but by a lot.
But I remember looking through discography and saying like every album after this would be more well received, and pretty much like the longer you go, more well received than the one before it, again and again and again. So it's kind of like building on top of each other.
Yeah,
which is very interesting to kind of follow.
Each album, I can't speak for yours truly because I haven't looked in a long time, but I'd assume all of the albums that I know have at least one song with 1 billion streams on it as well, which is, you know,
that's a lot.
That is a big amount.
Gangnam Style level.
Yeah, right. This is her most mature album at this point, and it experiments with R&B, which is not necessarily new for her, but it is definitely more like instrumental in the album.
Right.
Also, we have some bad news. Which I'm sure you know.
Oh, no.
During this tour promoting this album, there was a bombing in Manchester in the UK.
I did not actually connect that it was during the tour for this album.
Yeah, this was the tour. So also, I should probably say right away, I called my sister earlier today. She is a huge fan of Ariana Grande. This was the first album that she was like on social media for. Right. Because my sister's younger than me. And she remembers like seeing everything happening. And she went to this tour.
Oh.
She went to this tour in St. Paul, Minnesota, shout out. And this was afterwards that there was the bombing. But it
was in France, wasn't it?
It was in the UK, in Manchester.
Oh, okay, yeah. I mixed it up.
Yeah, different bombing in France that we talked about earlier on the podcast.
That's right.
But yeah, this was probably like 2 months after she had seen her live, I think. So it was May 22nd was the date.
Yeah.
And then they did the benefit concert, One Love Manchester, June 4th.
Oh, wow.
And then she continued the tour after that. She just canceled all of the dates in there and then went back to touring.
Yeah,
which
is crazy.
Insane. Also thinking about how old she is.
Yeah.
She's probably about our age at this
point. To go
point.
through that and then continue touring, I don't...
Oh my God, no, I wouldn't.
I would think she had probably PTSD. Like
yes, and my sister also mentioned that she remembers her posting a scan of her brain and saying, like, this is bad. Like, you know, like, I have PTSD from this.
Yeah.
So, I could not imagine.
I'm happy to, or I'm hopeful that she's like recovered since, you know, like she's come to terms, or, you know, however you deal with PTSD since, you know.
And then the last thing I have to say before we get into this album is my sister also told me she was very public on social media during this time. And this was the only album cycle that she used Snapchat for, but she'd post a bunch of stuff on her Snapchat story and be like, I'm working on this song. It was a good time to be a fan, basically, because she was very open with all the fans. Fun. Yeah, I do think that's super engaging. I think about like, if I had to do this, you know, and I was in her position, I'd be like, wow, this is a lot, you know? Yeah. But I do think it's like worked out for her. I mean, obviously look at how successful she is now.
And I imagine that it was helpful that she experienced being a celebrity, you know, as a teen star on Nickelodeon, even though it's obviously very different than touring and stuff like that. But I bet that experience helped her with dealing with all this stuff.
Yeah.
And obviously this also isn't her first album or first tour.
Exactly.
But I bet all of that kind of helped her deal with having this big event, you know, releasing an album, going on tour, all that kind of stuff.
Let's get into the tracks here. We are doing, first of all, the deluxe edition. So the original has 11.
Yeah.
The deluxe has 15. And then we're doing the Target edition beyond the deluxe, which has all the deluxe tracks plus 2 extras.
Which I was so confused by.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because there's 3 versions of this album.
And on Spotify, there is no distinction.
There's not, no.
All 3 of them are called Dangerous Woman, and that's it.
Correct.
So I was just clicking on them, trying to find which one has the most songs.
Yeah. But yeah, we start off with the first track, Moonlight, which was the title track at one point. This one is written by Ariana Grande, Peter Lee Johnson, Tommy Brown, and Victoria Monet, and produced by Tommy Brown. And it also features backing vocals from Victoria Monet, who I don't know if they're like how close they are still, but for a long time they were like best friends and they wrote like almost everything together. Right. I know they still work together.
I also have to ask, any relation to Janelle Monáe?
Different spelling. And Victoria's name is actually McCants. But that's just her stage name.
I just had to check.
My mom asked the same thing because Victoria Monet opened for Ariana on the tour. She was like, she kept saying it was Janelle Monáe. And I was like, no, that's a different person.
Well, ironically, I've actually never heard Janelle Monáe's music. The way that I know her is from the film Glass Onion, which she is in. So right. I know about it totally separately. But that and the fact that she was one of the speakers at LMU's graduation last year.
Interesting.
Which Jennifer was jealous about because she was like, why isn't she our speaker this year?
Yeah.
But anyways, moving on.
Yes, so we've cleared that up for everyone. This is a 50s style romantic ballad. That's basically all I can say about it. I think it's nice. You know?
I thought it was an interesting, like quieter start for the album. I feel like the fact that it is a 50s style ballad, for some reason that made me think of a Christmas song. It felt Christmassy.
I can see that,
Yeah, it felt Christmassy to me. But yeah, I liked it. I think it's a good start to the album. I think the chorus is like the standout of this album. It's especially catchy. Although I do feel like the bridge was pretty weak, just in my opinion. But yeah, I thought it was a really solid start. It's a 4 from me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
This is a 2.5 for me.
Wow.
This is not bad. 2.5 is an average song. I think this is fine.
I know for you, 2.5 is average. For me, 2.5 is like, this is not good.
Yes. Yeah. 2.5 is an average song for me. And I think that's what it is. It's just a nice start to the album. It's not something I'm going to go back to really, but I'm glad it exists. You know, I think it works. That brings us on to track number 2, Dangerous Woman. The song.
Title track.
Yes. Written by Johan Carlson, Max Martin, and Ross Golan. Produced by Max Martin and Johan Carlson. And I want to say, the lyrics are solely written by Ross Golan, who also has background vocals. He wrote this entirely by himself, which is quite impressive.
I'm surprised, to be honest.
Yeah, it's written by a man. Shout out to him. There's a little interview.
He understood the Dangerous Woman.
Yes. There is a little interview that he had. I think it was on like CBS Mornings or something like that. And he was like, I was writing this song in my boxers. Also, I want to shout out to Ross Golan because he hosts a podcast, which was the first podcast I ever listened to.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's called And the Writer Is, and it's very good if you want to learn about songwriters. Highly recommend.
Maybe he'll win a Golden Globe for it now. Because there's going to be a best podcast category at the Golden Globes. They just announced
They're trying to stay relevant so bad.
That's right. That's right.
Shout out to the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, who has a building at CSUN as well, which I think is funny because they are racist.
They'd rather
got removed.
They'd rather include podcasts than like people of color and women.
Yeah. But anyway, back to Dangerous Woman. It's structurally a really great song. It has a super satisfying post-chorus, I think, that like really builds a lot. I got another fun fact for you. Charlie Puth has a beatbox in it. Did you know that?
I did not notice that.
Yeah, I can't even hear it. He's doing like a little bit like a psh sound with the snare to like give it a certain frequency so it cuts through in the mix more. Yeah. And so he's on it. It has a huge guitar solo, big final chorus, which is pretty fun.
Which gave me a bit of rock feeling.
Yes, that's what I wrote. It's kind of soul, kind of rock and roll, kind of R&B. Yeah. It like sits kind of at the intersection of all of them. And Ross Golan thought of it as a country song for Carrie Underwood. And he said he also thought of it being pitched to Alicia Keys and Rihanna. I don't know if it was actually pitched, but that was his thought of it.
But I do think it works very well, with Ariana's style.
Absolutely. Yeah. This is like the shift in her image. You know, she's grown up now. And then since it was a single, I want to tell you that it was 4 times platinum.
Damn, that's really good.
In the U.S. only. But still. It was multi-platinum in like every country. Yeah. And surprisingly, this only reached number 8 on the Hot 100 because I felt like the song was everywhere for a long time. Yeah. What did you think about it?
I liked it. I think that it does have some of the best choruses of this album. Yeah. I think that's the strongest part of the song. I think that I didn't like the verses. Like I liked them, but I didn't think they were as strong as the chorus. Like, I feel like the chorus is where it really gets you. I did like it. I kind of went back and forth with this song between a 3.5 and a 4.
Okay.
And I'm honestly still not fully made up.
That's fair. I have a few songs like that on here too.
Yeah, like I feel like with this particular album, there are several songs which are just always shifting. But yeah, I think it's a very good song, and you can see why it's the lead single, and how it led to a shift in Grande's persona.
Yeah. Did you hear this song back in 2016 or not? Was this like your first time?
I might have heard it. I might have heard it. There were so many songs that were big and played on the radio so much that at some point I'm just like, some of them I just don't remember.
Okay. Yeah.
And I feel like there were some, for instance, like I feel like Lady Gaga's, big songs were played throughout all of the 2010s.
Yeah.
And like, some of those songs like Umbrella, maybe over,
that's
like
Rihanna.
No,
yeah.
Okay. No, I know it's Rihanna. I was going to say like Rihanna's Umbrella. Like those types of songs maybe overshadowed songs like this for me, just because like, I feel like those were on the radio 24/7.
That's fair, yeah.
So I probably did hear it and just don't remember it.
This song felt like it was everywhere for me, but then also living in a house with a rabid Ariana Grande fan also means that it's everywhere when it's not on the radio too.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
On the Bluetooth speaker or on the stereo system in the living room.
Well, now I'm intrigued to hear like what your sister's scores for all these.
They're all 5s because she just says that Ariana Grande doesn't have a bad song in her career.
Damn.
So, but she did say something interesting to me this morning, which was, I don't really like one of these songs. So
that's the 4.5
probably. Yeah. This one is a 3 for me because I've heard it so much. I ended up listening.
Sick and tired of it.
Yeah. I ended up listening to the instrumental on this and I was like, wow, this is like really well produced, which is not a surprise. It's Max Martin, one of the greatest producers ever. I had a new appreciation to it. So it was originally a 2.5 and I bumped it up to a 3 because I was like, no, actually this is like structurally and like production wise a great song. Yeah. I think like lyrically too, I just heard it so much that I think I'm just like a little sick
can't
of it.
hear it anymore. Yeah.
Plus this kind of style isn't like totally something that I would listen to all the time, but like it's a good song. I'm not like it's not good. But that brings us into track number 3, which is called Be All Right. This one is written by Ariana Grande, Khalid Roheim, Muramasa, Neo, Tommy Brown, Twice as Nice, which is Lewis Hughes and Nick Audino, Victoria Monet, and Willie Taffa. It's a lot of writers. Yeah. And it's produced by Twice as Nice and Tommy Brown. This one, I have a weird story about.
Ooh.
It is alleged to be a copy of Firefly by Muramasa and Neo, who have songwriting credit on it now, but didn't when it came out.
Yeah.
They say that they pitched it to Ariana's team and they were not credited on the final version. They didn't like use everything to make the final version.
Yeah.
I think the two songs sound very different, but when you have that story, it's much more like, okay, yeah, then if they were using your song as like a basis for it, then... Yeah. And then also Neo says that some of her vocals are still in the song. I don't know for sure because I don't know like if it was a different version that they showed, but I could definitely hear that because there's some vocals in like the chorus that are like in the background, which could definitely be her vocals just like shifted and like fucked with.
Yeah, and at that point it's like you can't tell who it is.
Right. So I initially was kind of like, well, I don't know if you pitched it to them, like, but they have songwriting credit on it now,
that's true. And I bet they get something from it.
And I also want to say shout out to them because both of them have had solo careers that are very good. And this song that this one is based on, supposedly, is also very good. And I highly recommend listening to it because I'm a fan of both of them. I
definitely will.
Yeah. It's called Firefly. So this is a Chicago deep house song. I think it's more tropical house, but I can hear the deep house in it. This was the opener on the tour. On the Dangerous Woman tour.
I can see that.
Which my sister specifically wanted me to mention because this is a big, like, a high energy song.
We need to call her in. Like, I know. Call her right now.
We'll bring her in for a different Ariana episode. We got other albums to do still.
That's true. We got like 5, 6, right? She's done a lot of albums.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we have 6.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a leaked demo of this song featuring the Migos. Quavo and Takeoff are on it. And I wrote down, it's interesting.
That sounds very interesting.
It is worth listening to because it immediately starts and you got Quavo screaming in the background, which is very fun, but it's just a totally different vibe.
Yeah. That's a totally different song at that point.
Yeah, so I recommend listening to that because it's kind of fun. Not that I condone leaks, but sometimes.
Yeah.
At the end, there's like a little arpeggio thing that happens when it's like kind of fading out. It's kind of side change.
Yeah.
I listened to it and I was like, oh my God, it's Everywhere by Fleetwood Mac. No one else has ever said this that I can find.
I've never.
But if you listen to it and then you listen to Everywhere, it's the same notes and it's a very similar instrument. I don't think it's like necessarily a rip off of it, but like I was just like, whoa, that reminds me of it.
That's interesting because I didn't notice that. But, something like a month ago, I was listening to Everywhere quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
You know how you go with like little things where you listen to a song a lot. Now I'm very intrigued to go back and see if I can find some Everywhere in this.
Yeah, I even checked who sampled and there was nothing about it.
Well, if it is Everywhere, it tracks because I really like the song.
Nice.
We are entering what I think is one of the strongest runs in an album for me. I won't spoil how many songs are in this run, but this is the start of it. I think this is just insanely catchy.
It is. It's very catchy.
Yeah,
this is
so
kind
catchy.
of a promotional single, but not fully.
Yeah.
So this is one of the songs I thought could easily have been a single.
Yeah, I
like an
completely
actual
agree.
push to radio one.
When you said house, I totally get that because it got my toes tapping. Like
You like house?
I like house because it made me want to start dancing. And it's interesting because I feel like there are some elements of hip hop in this.
Definitely, yeah.
Which I wonder if that's also part of what makes you want to dance. Because obviously, like hip hop has a lot of roots in, like not dance music, but music that people would dance to.
Yes, yeah.
I don't know. I just thought that was interesting. But yeah, I love the song. I had the song on repeat. It's a 4.5.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay. You're going to be a little upset at me. This is a 3. This could be a 3.5.
I'm not going to be upset at you. That's your score.
Yeah. It could be a 3.5. This is one of the ones where I'm stuck and I'm like, I don't know. I do like it, but I don't know if it takes it to the next level for me.
Which I get.
But I think this is a fun song. It's very catchy and I agree with you. It's got a lot of great like dance breaks kind of.
Yeah. With this song, I love the opening, which sort of made me realize that there's a lot of interesting openings on this album and a lot of very different openings.
The next song, track number 4, this was a single, Into You. This is written by Alexander Kronlund, Ariana Grande, Ilya, Max Martin, and Savin Kotecha. It's produced by Max Martin and Ilya. There are like in the background, that is Savin Kotecha as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
I have an anecdote from when I heard this song.
Yeah.
It never felt as big of a song as Dangerous Woman or Side to Side, but it has the most streams on the album. And to this day, it's the most remembered from this album.
Yeah.
It's definitely like it was acclaimed when it came out, but I feel like everybody looks back now and is like, oh yeah, this is like one of the greatest pop songs of all time, which I won't say anything if I think that. Spoiler alert, I do.
You do. Which, let me get into some background here.
Yeah.
I've heard, you showed me this song.
I did.
At this point, almost a year ago.
Was it that long?
Well, because it was like last June.
Oh my God.
Or July.
Yeah.
So almost a year ago.
I remember we were driving in Glendale.
Yes.
I don't remember why.
It was Hollywood.
It was Hollywood?
Remember, that's when we went to the observatory.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I don't know why I thought that was Glendale.
I think it was that day.
It might have been.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know it was you, me, and Jennifer.
Yeah, I heard the song then for the first time, and it's been in my playlists, like in my pop playlist. It's been, I've listened to it a lot since then. So yeah, I knew this song, and I already knew that I really, really liked it. And to your point that this is the most remembered song, this really feels like the headliner of the album to me.
Yeah, I agree.
100%. In terms of like just the quality of the production, I think it's kind of a perfect pop song. I will say going into the album, I had listened to the song to the point that I was kind of tired of it at that point. So I feel like going into it, I was like, yeah, this is like a 4.5. But then listening to it back after going through the whole album, I kind of remembered why it's so good. And yeah, it's a 5.
It's a 5 for me, too.
It's a 5, yeah.
This is...
I don't think you can go any lower.
No.
Yeah.
It's very hard to make a case to go any lower. I highly recommend, I don't know if you've seen it, I recommend to our listeners as well, watching the production breakdown.
That'd be interesting.
If you don't feel like watching, there's like a 30-minute video. I don't remember the guy's name. I think it's Rick Beato, I believe, on YouTube.
Oh, I've seen his YouTube channel, yeah.
Yeah. If you don't feel like dedicating like 30 minutes to it, listen to the instrumental to this song, which is on YouTube. It's incredible. You will have a new appreciation for production and for pop music production. And of course, for Max Martin. And Ilya, you cannot forget Ilya, but I'm going to talk about him later because he does have the first credit on a few songs that I think are also very well produced.
Yeah. But yeah, perfect song, I think.
Yeah. This one was released with the digital pre-order of the album, which was May 6th. So that's why I was a little bit before. It impacted radio on June 28th, interestingly enough, about a month after the album came out, which makes sense to me because I remember thinking that there was more time in between the song Dangerous Woman being on radio versus Into You being on the radio.
Interesting.
There's a remix of this song. There's multiple remixes. One by Blau, who's now a Trump supporter, unfortunately. So
that remix does not exist anymore.
Right, unfortunately. And he made a song that had a huge impact on me as a child DJ.
I'm sorry.
And then the other remix is Alex Ganet, I believe is how you say his name, and featuring Mac Miller, who is her boyfriend, who was her boyfriend. I don't know if they were dating at this time. My sister said yes. When I looked it up, it didn't look like they were, but I know they were dating after this for sure.
I also want to say that I said, even though I don't know who Mac Miller is.
He is a rapper from Pittsburgh. He died, unfortunately. I believe is an overdose.
Rest in peace. Now I'm sad.
This song is also 4 times platinum.
Nice.
This one only reached number 13 on the Hot 100.
That's a bummer.
Which is weird. A lot of these songs feel so much bigger than where they reached. Well, but at the same time, I get it because I feel like the song has only gotten bigger over time.
Yeah, I could see this being one of those songs. But even then, I feel like in recent years, you'll have songs that feel like they're everywhere that only get to number 10 or something like that, which kind of makes me wonder if the Billboard's Hot 100 is even that.
It's not that good of a measurement anymore, especially.
Well, because with streaming and with all the different ways of sharing.
In the way that it's weighted is very weird because radio still takes up such a huge share, but most people are not listening to the radio to consume new music.
It's kind of like the same thing with TV with the Nielsen ratings and streaming.
Yeah.
It just doesn't mesh very well.
Yeah. The song is a production masterclass. The percussion building in the choruses, the layering of synthesizers, the chunkiness of the bass. It's actually like 3 different basses that like go together. There's a guitar in the background of this song. There's these little like sparkles that appear. It's crazy in a way where it's like, I see how they came up with it. And it's still incredible, Like there's some things where it's like, how do you even do that? Yeah. But this one, I'm like, I understand how you do it. Why do you do it so well? There's just something special about Max Martin.
It's like you get it theoretically, but
there's something that when he does it, it takes it up a level.
Yeah.
And then this also fits my theory of songs that can stand alone without vocals and still be amazing. I think her vocal performance in this is incredible. Listening to just an acapella of this is crazy because she's an incredible singer. But then also listening to the production just by itself, you're like, wow, like it really is a perfect song. Yeah. So this is a 5.
The fact that she is such a good singer, because she is, she, I know she has a very wide vocal range.
I think it's 5 octaves.
Yeah, something like that. It's like, and the fact that she's so good at like mimicking other singers, stuff like that. The fact that you have such a good singer who made a song that you could take the singing out of and it still works.
Yeah.
I think that kind of shows you why it's such a good song,
Exactly. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with this song. You look at every single detail and it's just like, it's one of one. Track number 5, Side to Side, featuring Nicki Minaj. Written by Alexander Kronlund, Ariana Grande, Ilya, Max Martin, Nicki Minaj, and Savin Kotecha. The only addition here from the last song is Nicki.
Right.
So this is kind of like a dream team. This is her 3rd collaboration with Nicki Minaj after Bang Bang that also featured Jessie J.
Which that song I do know.
Okay, nice. And then Get On Your Knees, which is from Nicki Minaj's album. I think it's The Pink Print, but Ariana Grande sang the chorus on that.
Right.
They also have other collaborations. They have 2 more after this before Nicki Minaj went crazy, unfortunately.
Wait, in what way? Because I don't know much about Nicki Minaj.
She's kind of delusional about everything. And she worked with Dr. Luke, shout out.
Well, that's
on one of the songs. Yeah, but she has a very big ego that I believe is kind of getting out of control now, unfortunately.
That's a bummer.
But because I do think she's extremely talented, this song was bigger.
Than Into You?
Yeah. 6 times platinum. Reached number 4 on the Hot 100.
Damn.
This is the song in the moment that felt like the hit from the album. I think Into You is the hit going like into the future because of how good it is. But in the moment, this song was everywhere and it was kind of like, oh, this is the song.
And I mean, I can, like it still feels like a hit when you listen to it now. I can see why it was such a big success. Even if I think that Into You is more of a hit and a better song I still think that this warrants being a big hit.
Yeah, I did want to say something about the beginning of this song because I've heard the radio version so many times. This was all over the radio.
Yeah.
I didn't know Nicki Minaj in the background says, "Let them hoes know," right before Ariana starts singing, which I just think is funny. And I wanted to bring that up because I don't remember that being there.
Tagline of the album.
Yeah. Well, yeah, let them hoes know. Ariana has said that she doesn't really like this song because it's too much for the radio. Like, it's too much of a pop song that's kind of like, not boring, but
I sort of get that.
That's from my sister, by the way.
Oh, really?
So that's what she says that Ariana has said. I don't know that I found a source for that one.
I get that in the sense that, there was kind of the style of having, the pop song and then you have the verse that's rap.
The feature. Yep.
Like I get that. I think the parts of of this song that are strongest are the pop songs. I still think the rap section, I should say, works well, but ultimately the reason why I really like this song is because of the pop section.
Yeah,
and especially because of the build up to the chorus, which I think is
the pre-chorus.
Yeah, the pre-chorus I think is exceptional in the song. I'm like, whether you have it or you take it out in terms of the rap verse, I feel like it doesn't really affect the rest of that song so much because it is so good.
Interesting. Yeah. I do like the inclusion of Nicki Minaj, and I think that you would lose something if you take her out. Yeah. I'll counter that, I guess.
I mean, maybe that's also because I haven't listened to it without her or anything like that. So maybe it would lose something. I'm just like, from my point of view, the strongest part of the song is the pop part.
Yeah. I agree.
And that's, again, not saying that I don't like the rap chorus or the rap verse. I think it works well, but ultimately, like, this song is a 4.5 for me.
Whoa.
Yeah. Because of, like, Grande's part of the song.
This is a 3.5 for me. I was not expecting that high of a score.
I really, really like the song. I think the pre-chorus is one of the best pre-choruses in this album. I think there are a lot of really good pre-choruses in this album, and just in general, the overall song I think is really well written.
Your score reminded me that I didn't pick a favorite song for you on this album because I knew it was going to be Into You.
Yeah,
like
you kind of just know.
I just like instinctively, I was like,
well,
oh yeah.
I will say now that like I've gone through the insane run in this album.
Oh, it's over?
It's over. Okay. So it was these 3 songs. I will say I at one point was kind of like, will Be All Right be my favorite song from this album? Is that also going to be a 5? Ultimately, it wasn't. And I do think that Into You is, as I said before, the strongest song in this album and just in general, a fantastic song. But it was a little close. So,
do you think that Nicki Minaj is the queen of rap and young Ariana runs pop?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll go for that.
She said that in the song, so I was like, I wanted to ask you.
I just really haven't listened to Nicki Minaj that much.
We'll listen to her for sure because she's highly influential, both as like a female rapper and as a pop star. Because she had an album. Well, she had a few songs like from multiple albums that were like actual like pop songs. She's singing on them, and they're like pop bangers.
And I like her in this song.
Yeah,
I think she does a good job.
And I want to say one last thing about this song before we move on. Ride Dick Bicycle. Track number 6.
Definitely not from the radio version.
No, I think it's Ride Bicycle. But yeah.
That's fine.
Track number 6. I was going to try to move on really fast and just let that.
I just totally threw that out the window.
Let Me Love You, featuring Lil Wayne. This one is written by Ariana Grande, FKI first, Jeremiah, Lil Wayne, Matthew O'Brien, Stephen Franks, Tommy Brown, and Victoria Monet, and produced by Tommy Brown and Stephen Franks. And this is a perfect time for me to bring up the fact that Tommy Brown sometimes goes by the name TB Hits, and Stephen Franks sometimes goes by the name Mr. Franks. So I may interchangeably, I don't remember what I wrote down, but I may refer to them.
We know then like what you'll be referring to, so don't worry.
Yeah. And this one interpolates All the Time by Jeremiah. Jeremiah, shout out to him. He's from Chicago. I think he's from Chicago. Actually, I don't know. I know he went to Columbia College Chicago, which I went to for a year. So
hell yeah, him and the new Pope.
Yeah. Shout out to the new Pope as well. This is an R&B-ana song. This was the first song that they wrote for the album, and it was probably about her ex, Jay Brooks. So not shout out to him because I don't know who he is.
Yeah.
So
I've never heard of him before.
yeah. So mention of him, I guess. She is a fan of Lil Wayne. Noted Green Bay Packers fan, Lil Wayne.
Hell yeah.
Shout out to the Green Bay Packers. Shout out Lil Wayne. But she's a fan of Lil Wayne and said that this is one of her favorite verses from him. And it felt like a classic Lil Wayne verse.
That's fun.
This one impacted rhythmic and urban contemporary radio on August 30th and contemporary hit radio on September 20th, which is weird because that happens with another song on this album.
Yeah.
The other single, there's a lot of time between the impact between rhythmic and urban versus contemporary, or contemporary hit. So this made it to 99 on the Hot 100. It wasn't huge, but it did go platinum, and it had a music video. So
can I ask how many of whatever you're selling do you have to sell?
1 million.
Well, okay.
I don't know.
Makes sense.
I don't know how they track the units, but platinum is hard to do. So this one is only 1 times platinum, unlike some of the other ones that were multi times platinum. And then she's single and I'm her feature, which Lil Wayne says on here, which I think is very fun. My sister also brought that line up to me as like one of her favorite things. And I was like, I do really love that line. It's just fun.
Hell yeah.
And then this song is one of the grown-up songs from the album. There are a lot of grown-up songs, but this is...
I was going to say, that's like every song.
Yeah, but it's also addressed by Lil Wayne because he says, Ariana, my lil mama, goodbye to the good girl. So he knows, like, that was another thing where he knows the theme of the album and he's actively participating in it instead of just like phoning it in like some people do sometimes. Yeah. Like he's actually trying, which I think is really good.
That's true.
It's a bigger song. It's got more streams than the other ones.
Yeah.
What did you think about this song? Because this is the end of your magical run.
I did think it was weaker.
Yeah, I agree.
Than, the songs that came before, including Dangerous Woman, which I know I gave a lower score. I like the opening to the song.
I just broke up with my ex. Now I'm out here single.
Exactly. I don't know. I think parts of it worked better for me than some other parts. It was fine.
Did you like Lil Wayne on it?
Yeah, I thought it was fine. I think ultimately for me, I'm still trying to decide if I like, kind of the setup of pop, then rap, verse, then pop. It might not be for me.
Yeah.
Even though, for instance, like Side to Side, I really, really liked. And I do think I like Nicki Minaj in that song. Even though I know just a while ago I was like, you could take her out of it. Yeah. I don't actually mean take her out of it. I think it works like really, really well as the song is now. So I think I'm still trying to decide if I like that in a pop song or not. I think here it works okay.
Yeah, I do like it. I'll say that. Yeah. And I grew up listening to that where you just randomly have a rapper. Most of the time they contributed. Fun. Yeah, most of the time they contributed nothing. But this is like a good example of like he's actually trying and he's like doing a good job in elevating the song, that he's adding new perspective.
The fact that he is interacting with what the album is about adds something to it. Ultimately, for me, it is a 3.
It's a 3 for me as well.
Yeah, I think it's just fine.
Yeah, I like it pretty good. And then one more time, shout out to the Green Bay Packers.
Oh, yeah. And mention of the boyfriend.
Yes.
Ex-boyfriend.
Yeah, and mention Jay Brooks. Track number 7 is Greedy, written by Alexander Cronlund, Ilya, Max Martin, and Savin Kotecha, produced by Max Martin and Ilya. This one is not written by Ariana. There's a few songs that aren't written by her on this album. This is the album, as far as I know, this is the album where she like started writing a lot more, like being involved in the writing process. And this surprisingly is not one of them because I feel like this is a quintessential Ariana Grande song, personally.
Yeah.
Got to shout out
that's really
the
interesting.
horn arrangement. Horn arrangement and the saxophone are by Jonas Thander, I assume is how you say his name. Trombone by Staffan Finden. Trumpet by Carl Olanderson and Stefan Persson. So shout out to these presumably Swedish guys who did a really good job with the horns on this song.
Shout out to all those Swedes.
Yes.
Yeah.
My sister said that she posted a clip on her Instagram of this song before it came out, and it got a lot of attention. She remembers this one getting the most attention of like the other songs that were previewed on Instagram. Yeah. And this was speculated to be a single, which it was not, surprisingly.
Yeah, because I could see the song being a single.
This was another one that I was going to say is definitely like, I could hear this on the radio for sure. No one can agree on the genre. There's disco, there's R&B, there's gospel, funk, and then somebody said that she's a Bruno Mars wannabe, which I think is a diss personally because I'm not a fan of Bruno Mars.
As someone that has enjoyed Bruno Mars music without actually like getting into it really, I don't really see like a correlation in style. I feel like it's very different to his style. That being said, I've only heard of a few of his songs.
Yeah.
So I can't really say anything.
And then I have one last thing to say about this song. There have been multiple trends on TikTok where people say, like, name a song that like starts at level 100 and never drops below it. And this is one of them, because she starts off immediately screaming, greedy.
Yeah,
and it's
this song
insane.
totally fits. Yeah.
It's really good. This song is a 3.5 for me. What did you think?
This song is a 4.
Okay, I
think,
figured you'd like this one.
Yeah, I think it's very fun. It does feel a lot simpler than a lot of the previous songs. And I think that's perfect for this song. It doesn't need much.
Exactly.
You know, the point of it is just, it's fun, it's catchy.
It knows what it is.
Yeah, it knows what it is, exactly. And I think that's why it works, or could work so well as a single, even though it wasn't, you know? And it's just fun. It's a 4. I don't even have that much to say about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. Also, my sister would hate me if I didn't mention that she danced to this song. So I have heard it millions of times.
This is a perfect dance song, I think.
I believe it was a jazz solo. So
yeah, that tracks.
Track number 8, Leave Me Lonely, featuring Macy Gray. This one's written by Stephen Franks, Tommy Brown, Tommy Parker, and Victoria Monet. Tommy Parker is sometimes credited as Tommy Lumpkins. I believe that is his name. I think it's Tommy Parker Lumpkins is his full name.
Yeah,
but
sorry for laughing.
In one of the like credits on Spotify, sometimes they don't like attribute the correct name to another person. So there were just 3 Tommies on this song. And I was like, that cannot be right. So I looked it up to make sure I got it right. And there are only 2.
I will say the name Tommy Lumpkins does, but it does sound like a character from Over the Garden Wall, which honestly goes pretty hard.
Nice.
And you should definitely watch it.
This one, I don't know if I said it was produced by Tommy Brown, Tommy Parker, and Mr. Franks, but it was. This is a classic style R&B song. To me, this song is much more related to Moonlight, the first song. And
I can see that.
I could see that this could be like the first idea for the album. Kind of like this was the Moonlight album, where it's much more like slower and kind of like ballady, I guess.
Yeah.
And the lyrics on this one were solely written by Victoria Monet, so shout out to her.
Hell yeah.
They had a breakdown of like who wrote the lyrics, who wrote the music, and there were, I think, only 2 songs. There might be one more later, but I got a shout out when only one person writes the lyrics, because I think that's really hard to do.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, I've been doing it and it's like, wow, this sucks. I wish I had another person to give me ideas to bounce them off of. The collab was never talked about by Ariana, supposedly, according to my sister. But Macy Gray said they were just in the middle of finishing the album and they had that Leave Me Lonely. And at the time, the person who wrote it was just singing on it, just to show whoever was going to sing it and how it would go. So it was kind of a demo. And Wendy, the A&R at Republic, asked me to do it and said, let me check with Ariana. And 2 days later, we were in the studio and I cut it.
Hell yeah.
So shout out to her. She's a like kind of soul gospel singer. She's really good.
Yeah.
This song, however, does not really work for me that much. This one's a 3. It's good, but it really like it's kind of forgettable, unfortunately.
Yeah. Before I get into what I thought, I did want to read one of the notes I wrote down. I don't know what I was going through. Maybe I didn't have enough coffee or something. I literally wrote down interesting song with an interesting song. I just wrote the same thing twice.
Nice.
So I don't know what is going on, but I do agree. I think I liked it a little bit more than Let Me Love You, because I gave it a 3.5, but I do agree that ultimately it's not as strong as a lot of the previous songs, or most of the previous songs. And I do kind of feel like that's something that, at least for me, continued through kind of the second half of the album. I don't think it's as strong as the first half, although there are still songs I really liked in that half.
I think the second half is more consistent, personally. And I think I'm going to like the songs more than you.
That's interesting. Yeah.
So we'll see.
Well, I will say they were consistent for me, just consistent with me not thinking they're as
consistently
strong.
worse.
Yeah. And when I say worse, it's like 3.5s, which is still really it's solid, you know?
Track number 9. This is the last single on the album, Every Day, featuring Future. Written by Ariana Grande, Future, Ilya, and Savin Kotecha. This one is produced by Ilya and Max Martin. This is the one where I said Ilya was not the sole producer, the main producer, I guess. He's credited first. I think he's an incredible producer, so I'm going to say that as well. He's of the Max Martin school of production, and I think you can really hear it in this of how fucking big the bass in the chorus is massive.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even understand how you got it that big.
It's very massive.
So shout out to him, because I gave flowers to Max Martin on the other song. I'm going to solely focus on Ilya on this song, because I think he's amazing as well. I have a one-word quote from my sister about this song: freaky.
Hell yeah.
This is the style that I love from Ariana. It is a crossover between pop, rap, and R&B. I think the production on this song is really good, and I feel like it's underrated. I never really hear anybody talk about the production on this one. There were mixed reviews on this song. It reached number 55 on the Hot 100, and it was certified platinum in the US. Right. And it impacted rhythmic radio on January 10th, 2017, and then contemporary hit radio on Valentine's Day of 2017, so over a month later. And before you say anything, I don't think you're going to like this song, because I gave it a 4, and this is I think my second favorite song on the album. I love this one.
You're 100% correct.
Hell yeah.
This was a song I liked the least on this album. It's a 2.5 for me. Yeah.
Whoa. Track 9 Theory for me, once again, I want to say.
Pretty much Track 9 Theory is you really like the song and I really dislike it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It just didn't work for me. I didn't really like the verses or the chorus. It felt overly bombastic, which I think makes sense considering that, the bass is so booming and stuff like that. And it just didn't work for me. I didn't like it.
I thought you'd say that because I feel like you speak for the general public, and I'm just over here doing my own thing.
Yeah. Which, I mean, a good thing and a bad thing together. Speaking for the general public.
I mean, but this was a single and it didn't really do much. So I think you are tapped into what everyone else is thinking.
I'm a commoner, yes.
Commoner. But yeah, I really like this, and I do like Future. I'm realizing he's very hit or miss though, but when he hits, he's really good. And I think that he works really well on this song. The fact that he's doing the chorus and it's just one word is crazy. And also, like, I completely commend them for that, because it's like your chorus is every day, every day, every day, every day. And your post chorus is la, 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 la. But it works so well for me. I know that's why it doesn't work for everyone else, but I think it's a huge swing and I really like it. I approve.
And as long as you like it, then, hell yeah.
This was one where I had heard it a few times before, and I was like, this is a pretty good song. And then hearing it on the album and the bass like hitting in my headphones, I was like, whoa.
And I could see that, we kind of building to liking it, I could see that for you.
Oh, yeah. I thought you were going to say for you. And I was like, you don't have to defend it. I know you don't like it.
I'm saying for you. I mean, I don't know, maybe, but right now,
I don't see it for
right
you.
now, no. Yeah.
We're gonna listen to some modern rap, and I think you're gonna hate it and be like, this is what's wrong with the music. And I'm gonna be like, this is so good.
Well, I'm never gonna say this is what's wrong. I mean,
in my day, you used to play instruments.
Look, rap might not be for me, but that doesn't mean it's not good and that I don't see like the art in it and the appeal. Like, I get it. I think I just prefer other types or styles of music. But yeah.
But I do want to say, second favorite song on the album. This one could go up to a 4.5 for me. I really do love this song. God. I think it's so good.
I hope it does, because then it will be hilarious if you have a 4.5 and I have a 2.5.
Yeah, I think that would be. Is that the biggest split? No, we have to have a 100 gecs song. I gave a 4.5.
Yeah,
and you gave
I feel
a 1.
like we have a much bigger split on that album, but this is definitely the biggest split on this album.
Yeah. Track number 10 is Sometimes, written by Ilya, Max Martin, Peter Svensson, and Savan Kotecha, and produced by Max Martin and Ilya. And I want to say Peter Svensson inspired me to do something, which was create a whole list of all of the people who have written on and produced on the other albums, because he was on Troye Sivan's album. And I knew, literally reading his name, I was like, I've heard myself say it before. Yeah. When I was like editing, and I was like, I knew he was on something else. So I looked it up, and he wrote, I think it was 2 songs on Bloom. So shout out to him, because he's also on this album.
Which maybe we will release that list on the Patreon if we ever have one.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
The background La Las are by Day Jack, who's a friend of one of them. I don't remember who.
I love the way we describe
Ilya.
background noises on this podcast.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they're not even
la-las.
they're not even that background. They're kind of just the la-las, I guess. But
Yeah,
they're
the
credited
la-las.
as background vocals.
Also, incidentally, the name of a 1950s band.
Oh, nice.
No, I just made that up. It just,
I believe
sounded
it.
like
It sounds like it. There probably is one.
The la-las.
There is a vocoder in the bridge, and my sister told me that she has performed this song live with the Gloves, which I don't know what they're called. I think it's like Mew Mew Gloves or something like that. I don't think that's right, but whatever it is. And the Gloves like function like a vocoder, and the way you move like your fingers around, like do things.
That's really cool.
She's a huge fan of Imogen Heap, who is an amazing singer. I'm sure you've heard the song Hide and Seek by her. You may not know it.
I may not know it by name, but yeah.
Yeah, but it's a big song, and it's entirely vocoder.
It sounds familiar. The name Hide and Seek even sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know Ariana is a like huge fan. That's like her idol is Imogen Heap.
Right.
And she even did a cover of an Imogen Heap song on Sweetener. So we'll listen to that album because I think the cover is amazing as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she's the Gloves. So shout out to the Gloves. I'm doing a lot of shout outs for some reason. I don't know what. It could be because it's late at night.
It's
We're
that
recording.
we're tired and exhausted.
Yeah.
And we're just like, shout out everyone.
It's been hot today too. I'm losing my mind.
I just got back from work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're not doing too hot today.
Yeah.
So shout out to us, maybe.
So if we sound drunk, it's not that. It's just we're tired.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But this one is a 3.5 for me. I think this song is pretty fun.
Yeah.
I know you don't like this one because this is the part of the album that you don't like, right?
Well, we went from going to totally opposite reactions to the same reaction because I gave this a 3.5 too.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting.
Yeah.
It does. I feel like to me, it felt very different from a lot of the other songs.
Yes.
Because partially, or maybe even fully, the acoustic guitar. Yeah. And I thought that was fun. I do think that the choruses are the strong part of this song.
They're still huge too, like Max Martin likes to do.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I will say the bridge I did find forgettable though. I was kind of like,
Yeah.
Yeah. But overall, I think it's a solid song.
I agree.
Yeah.
And I think this feels like the lighter version of Max Martin's style, where it's like the maximalist kind of like trappy pop style.
Yeah.
But this one is like, it's not as dark as Into You.
Yeah. It feels a little lighter.
Now we move on to track number 11, I Don't Care. Written by Ariana Grande, Mikey Foster, Ryan Righteous Tedder, Stephen Franks, Tommy Brown, Travis Sales, and Victoria Monet. Produced by Tommy Brown, Travis Sales, Mr. Franks, Ryan Righteous Tedder, and Mikey Foster. A lot of people.
Yeah.
My sister said this is nothing like her other songs.
Yeah.
I can kind of agree, but I also think it's kind of like, it fits into the vein of Moonlight. Like that kind of like R&B, kind of classic style.
Yeah, I can see that. I do agree with your sister though, because it
is different.
It is very different. It feels very different.
And then also, while I was researching the credits of this song, I want to shout out to Ryan Righteous Tedder, because there is a singer called Ryan Tedder, which you may know from the band One Republic, who is also an incredibly accomplished songwriter. This guy is a totally different guy named Ryan Tedder,
Oh, Jesus.
who is also working in the music industry for a long time and like has a huge number of credits.
Yeah.
So I looked him up and I was like, oh my God, because I looked at his picture on Genius and it's a black guy. And I was like, that's not Ryan Tedder. And it turns out it is Ryan Tedder.
Damn.
And then I have a little bit of a story for you later when we get to another track.
I'm very intrigued. That's like the thing. And if he was working in Hollywood, they would have made him change his name.
Exactly. That's why he goes by Ryan and then in quotes Righteous Tedder.
Yeah.
Because where he uses his middle name, which I don't remember which one is his and which one is the other Ryan Tedder's middle name, so I'm not gonna speculate.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this song is fine. It's a 2.5 for me. I really didn't care for it that much.
Yeah, it didn't work for me that much either. It's a 3.
Yeah.
I think it has a lot of interesting elements, like, but opens with strings and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's a much like slower and quieter song than a lot of the other ones.
It's definitely interesting. It is my least favorite though.
It is interesting. I agree. It doesn't work that well. I feel like it's a little too all over the place. If the song itself was more focused in terms of production, it could have worked a lot better, but it just kind of feels like there's too much going on.
Yeah.
if you know what I mean.
Now we got that Hood Love with track number 12, Bad Decisions, written by Ariana Grande, Ilya, Max Martin, and Savin Kotecha. Produced by Ilya and Max Martin. I wrote down two things. We got that Hood Love and Ain't You Ever Seen a Princess Be a Bad Bitch.
Yep. It's a fun song.
It's fun. It's a 3.5 for me.
Yeah.
I enjoy this song a lot.
It's 3.5.
Yeah.
I wrote down it feels very mid 2010s, which this was literally mid 2010s.
This could have been a single as well. This is another one.
I could see this as a single. I think ultimately it's just a fun song. It's it doesn't like have to be anything else. I think it works.
I'm glad it exists. It's very fun to listen to. Track number 13 is Touch It, written by Ali Payami, Ariana Grande, Max Martin, Peter Svensson, and Savin Kotecha, and produced by Max Martin and Ali Payami. This song, I posit, and my sister does as well. This is Into You Part 2.
Oh, I never thought about it that way.
I think it's very electronic. It's very like kind of EDM. It's very dark.
Yeah.
Like Into You is kind of, and it's huge. It has huge choruses with these like big synthesizers.
Yeah, that's true.
This one, Ariana says, is boring.
Oh, really?
She doesn't like it and she does not want to perform it.
Wow.
This is a fan favorite. And Tate McRae in an interview recently said this is her favorite song. I don't know if she said of all time, but she said this is like one of her favorite songs. I think of Ariana Grande's career because she's a huge Ariana fan as well.
Yeah. I mean, I will say, I wouldn't call it boring, but I kind of agree with Ariana in the sense that I don't think it's as strong as a lot of the other songs. I gave it a 3.5. Like I still like it.
3.5 for me as well.
Yeah. But it's not the strongest. I definitely don't think it's anywhere near as good as Into You.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think it's darker and it's like slower and a little bit more one note than Into You.
It feels very ballady.
Yes.
Which you would think would make me like it even more.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do think the production on this song is very good though. I really like it.
Well, I thought it was very interesting. Particularly there's like the little muted section. I thought that was very, very interesting. And that's not something you hear a lot. So yeah, I think the production is very interesting. I just ultimately was like, it's not as strong as a lot of the other songs.
This is a fan favorite though. So Ariana Stans will be fighting you, unfortunately.
Yeah, they're coming after me.
Track number 14, New Better / Forever Boy. Written by Ariana Grande, Dernst D. Mile, Emile II, Mike Foster, Ryan Tedder, Stephen Franks, Tommy Brown, and Victoria Monet. Produced by Mr. Franks, Tommy Brown, and Victoria Monet. This is the other Ryan Tedder.
Yeah.
I felt like I was going insane because both of them are on this album. And
that's confusing.
The other one I didn't even know about until today.
Can you imagine like Ariana going to a producer and be like, I want Ryan Tedder.
Yeah.
And they're like, we'll bring him back. It's like, no. I want the other one. Ryan Tedder. Yeah. That must have been so confusing.
Yeah, because this Ryan Tedder is much more of a pop producer. The other guy does more like hip hop and R&B. This is a double song, and there's a New Better Part 2 on SoundCloud. That's hasn't like been officially released, but it expands on the first part of this song, which is New Better. I highly recommend listening to it because it's kind of dancey. It's got like almost fun. Like kind of a shuffling house beat.
I want to listen to it to see if it improves it, because to be honest, the No Better part, I was like,
Ooh.
I was very meh. I gave the first part a 3. It's fine. I just don't think it's my style of pop.
Yeah.
You know? I think the second part worked a lot better for me, but I gave that a 4, the Forever Boy part.
Interesting.
Yeah, I was like, I'm getting down with this, which I guess ultimately is a 3.5.
Yeah.
Just in general for the overall song.
I agree with your scores, but I'd switch them.
Oh, that's
which is weird because I like EDM, and the second and Forever Boy is much more like electronic. I think New Better is really interesting. It's very dark. It's very like sparse, which I think is cool. And her run on Me, on just the word Me, I think is like super cool.
Yeah.
I do love the way that these songs flow into each other. And this is a 3.5 for me total between the two of them.
So we agree there.
Yeah.
Even though we switched it up.
Yeah. I really do enjoy this song though.
Yeah.
So track number 15. This is the last song of the standard edition at 11 tracks, the last song of the deluxe edition at 15 tracks. And technically it's still the last song because then these two other songs are just like kind of extra on the Target edition.
I think it works well as the last song.
I 100% agree.
Yeah.
This one is written by Billboard, Chloe Angelides. I don't know if that's how you say her name. I have never been able to figure it out. I've known about her for 10 plus years as a songwriter, and I've never learned how to say her name.
Yeah.
So shout out to Chloe Angelides, maybe. That's what I'm going to say. Also, Jay Cash and Peter Svensson. And it's produced by Peter Svensson and Billboard. And there is vocal production from Ilya and Peter Carlson on here. This song is kind of related to EDM to me.
Right.
But it's very like understated. And I think this is a great album closer. I think
agree.
I see why they put it as the closer with the 11 tracks and the 15 tracks because it just works so well.
Yeah. I think I agree. This was a 4 for
me.
It's
a 3.5 for me.
Yeah. I think it is a strong song. It's interesting because while I gave it a 4, I realized it's not something that I'm going to listen to very much.
Yeah.
But it's like when I hear it, I'm going to be like, oh, yeah.
In the context of the album, it works so much better as well than just like as a
and I
solo
think
song.
There's a lot of really interesting things going on because there's these like melody shifts in the verses. I think the bridge is very interesting. So there's a lot of interesting things here. There's an interesting beat, for instance. Like I really liked the beat. I don't know. I kind of wish they left this as the last song, even though they kind of do here. I don't know. I'm kind of wondering why they didn't leave it
in the bonus. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't really know either.
Because it works so well in that context, I think, specifically as the last song of the album.
I agree. It's the last thing you hear. It's your last impression. And also one last quick shout out to Peter Carlson, who did vocal production on here. His name is spelled wrong in the credits with a K instead of a C.
Which isn't the K version like the more traditional Swedish spelling?
I believe so, but I don't know for sure. And then I also wanted to say on the Wikipedia page, they credit him as Peter Carlson with a K, and then they just have a note that says this is wrong, but they don't fix it.
I love that.
Which I think is hilarious.
I wonder if they're like, let's just make the person that wrote this wrong. Like, let's make him a tone and just put the note and make everyone notice.
2 last bonus tracks. Step On Up, written by Charlie Handsome, Digi, Shane Stevens, Tommy Brown, Twice as Nice, and Victoria Monet. Produced by Charlie Handsome, Tommy Brown, and Twice as Nice. Yep. This is a Target exclusive song that was added to streaming on its 5th anniversary, which I did not know. So this would have been only on like SoundCloud for a while as well, unless you had the Target edition. This song is a 3 for me. I think it's very interesting. It does not feel related to the album.
It does feel very separate. First time I listened to it, I gave it 3.5. Then I gave it a 4. It really worked for me, but I agreed. It doesn't fit with the album that well. I think for me it worked, because I just listened to it kind of separately.
Yeah.
Like obviously I listened to it in the album. Then I came back to this specific song later. And coming back to it like that was kind of almost like listening to a single. Yes. And I think in that context, it works so well. It's very catchy. It's also very, like production-wise, very different, which, goes to the point that doesn't feel like it's really part of the album. Kind of not having music, having the drums, in the background. It's really interesting and it got me.
It's kind of simple in a way too, but it's kind of,
and I
it's
really like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. It goes hard for me and it's a 4. Yeah. I really like it.
It's a 3 for me, which is interesting. Now we have the last song. Jason's song gave it away.
Who is Jason?
Well, I'm going to get to that.
No, I know.
Written by Ariana Grande and Jason Robert Brown. Produced by Jeffrey Lesser and Jason Robert Brown.
Jason.
I don't know if you're catching what I'm putting down, but this is the Jason.
Oh, yeah, I'm catching. By the way, who is Jason again?
He's a Tony Award-winning composer.
Hell yeah.
He wrote the music for the musical 13, which was the first thing that Ariana Grande was ever in.
Wow. That's pretty
He also
great.
plays the piano. He's the pianist on this song, and he's incredible.
I was going to say, I wrote down, shout out the piano.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he's really good.
Brandon's going to shout out the piano.
So this is a Broadway song, kind of.
That's crazy.
She got her start on Broadway.
Yeah.
Obviously, like we talked about this before, like if you can sing and you can act, you can be on Broadway.
Yeah.
And she can do both.
There we go. And then you just learn the dance. You're good.
Right, exactly. And this is something that my sister said. Like in an interview about this song, Ariana said that this song was about the music industry. My sister said, I think this song is about Scooter Braun, who is her manager at this point that she fired. She then got back with Scooter Braun and then she fired him again.
Yeah.
I don't know. Nobody really knows the whole story there.
Yeah.
But this is kind of interesting that this was around the same time. I don't know if it was during the promotion for this album or shortly after the album came out that she fired him, but I know it was around this time. So there's a chance that it's about Scooter Braun.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I thought this was fine. I give it a 3.5.
I didn't know what to do with that.
No, yeah. It's fun. I like the opening that kind of grows where you keep adding things to it. I think
Yes.
I think
it's
that's
very
fun.
musical, like Broadway musical.
Oh, yeah. It feels like that. Interestingly enough, well, first of all, shout out piano in the bridge particularly. But I think that this works as a last song too. Obviously, I think that Thinking About You is a stronger song, and I think that works better as the last song versus this. But that being said, if this was in another album as the last song, I'd be like, yeah, that works as the last song. Yeah. I just think that if you have this in an album with Thinking About You,
right,
that's when you're like, okay, this should not have been the last song. I will say it does kind of feel tacked on to the album a bit.
Yeah.
But that's because this is the Target edition where these were tacked on.
Right. Yeah. These are the extras that you're going to get when you go to Target.
But I thought it was fun.
This one is a 3 for me. I do really enjoy it.
Yeah.
But I do have to say that the vocal production, specifically the mixing on her vocals, is really weird. It's super low during like the first half of the song, where it's like almost kind of hard to hear her, which I thought was kind of weird compared to the other, especially when you're comparing it to Max Martin. But that brings us to the end, which makes me ask you, what is your score on this album?
I went back and forth.
I did as well.
Yeah. I went back and forth on different scores. Ultimately, there were a lot of songs that were like 3s and 3.5s, which is just like, yeah, they're fine. But on the other hand, there are so many exceptional songs in this album that work so well, particularly that 3-song run for me. So I think ultimately kind of having those both sides kind of landed me at a 4.
That's kind of what I was thinking. Were you originally 3.5 to 4? Was your range?
So when I listened to the 11-song version, I was thinking, I was kind of stuck trying to decide between 4 and 4.5.
Okay.
Yeah. I do feel like the additional songs brought it down a little bit for me. Because most of them, not all of them, there were some that I actually really liked, but most of them I was like, yeah, these are fine. But ultimately, I do feel that the other version is stronger because it is more concise. So that kind of just consolidated it at a 4. I will say, I feel like I probably would have gone a 4.5 if it was the 11-song version. Just because there are, that little run is so strong that it would have just pulled it up to a 4.5 for me. So I do absolutely love this album. And I think it has some exceptional pop, especially, Into You, which is, one of the best pop songs of the 2010s for sure, and just beyond. Yeah,
I struggled with a 3 and a 3.5. I decided on a 3.5.
Yeah,
because I do think that there are enough songs where they're just like consistently at that level to bring it up to a 3.5 for me.
Yeah.
Ultimately, this is where I hate this kind of rating system, because this would be like a 3.38. Like almost like it's really close to a 3.4, but it ultimately is closer to a 3.5 than it is to a 3.
Yeah.
So I did bring it up. I do think that this is a good album. I think it's probably better than her first 2, but this is not her best album. I think she has
and this makes
at least 3 that are better.
This makes me interested to listen to her future albums. Because if you have such strong songs in one album already, even if like the other songs aren't that strong, and knowing that her future albums are even more acclaimed, I want to listen to those and see what those are like.
Which we definitely will be doing.
100%. So let's get into it. Jurassic Park.
Yes.
Our first Spielberg movie on this podcast, actually.
Surprisingly.
Yeah. Which is ironic because we were talking about what should his first film be on this podcast in the future without realizing that we're already going to do this film. But yeah, let's start off as usual with the IMDb logline. An industrialist invites some experts to visit this theme park of cloned dinosaurs. After a power failure, the creatures run loose, putting everyone's lives, including his grandchildren's, in danger. I really love how it's some experts.
And then also power failure. It was sabotage.
It was on purpose. So not the best log line.
Yeah, but it keeps you guessing.
Yeah, it tells you the important stuff. Obviously directed by Steven Spielberg, produced by Kathleen Kennedy and Gerald R. Molin.
Which I was surprised about because Kathleen Kennedy's the Lucasfilm person.
Well,
she's been around forever.
Yeah, she's been involved with Lucasfilm and with Amblin Entertainment, which is Spielberg's company, for a long time. And she's produced a lot of stuff. I know like now she's hated kind of by the Star Wars community.
Yeah.
Which, be that as it may, that doesn't invalidate the fact that she has produced a lot of great films, you know, like putting all the Lucasfilm stuff aside.
And I also wonder how much of that is because she's a woman and, you know, Star Wars fans.
Exactly. You know, that's why I'm like, we won't even get into it because that's a minefield. Go at your own peril, you know.
We'll watch Star Wars at some point.
Exactly. We'll talk about it then if we watch the new ones. Written by Michael Crichton and David Kapp. Obviously adapted from the novel Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton.
Which I did not know existed.
Yeah. Did you know who Michael Crichton was before this?
No.
So, yeah, he's a novelist. He's written a lot of very well-regarded books. A lot of them science fiction. So he wrote Westworld. He wrote...
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I know. I guess I do know who this is.
Yeah. No, I'm sure that you've either read or heard of the books that he's written. But yeah, so Westworld, Jurassic Park, and there's a lot more that I can't even remember at the moment. Cinematography by Dean Cundy, edited by Michael Kahn, music obviously by John Williams, and effects by Industrial Light and Magic and others, which we'll talk about. Obviously, there's a lot of people that work on the effects. We're going to talk about the three main people that kind of led the effects. But obviously, shout out to all
Lord of the Rings kind of situation.
Exactly, because it's just too much to cover. And lastly, starring Sam Neill, Laura Dern, Jeff Goldblum, Sir Richard Attenborough, Ariana Richards, Joseph Mazzello, among others. There's a large cast, so I'm sure everyone knows who's in this film.
I didn't. So
well, yeah, but I mean, after seeing it,
you
know, for instance, we got Newman in this film.
Yeah, we got Newman, we got Sam Jackson.
Exactly. I did want to shout out on YouTube. There are some really excellent documentaries about the film, which I watched for this info that I'm gonna be espousing now. I am going to just do like quick little background stuff on it. And by quick, I mean I have 3 pages of notes. I tried to condense. That's me condensing a lot of stuff because there's a lot of information. If you're interested, I highly recommend. It's very interesting. There's a lot of great podcasts that do episodes on this. So, you know, go out into the wilderness and look up how this film was made by yourself too. Let's get into the novel first. It was written by Michael Crichton, of course, but he actually first conceived it as a script before turning it into a novel. When he submitted the manuscript to his publisher in 1999, he was working on a project with Spielberg. So literally, before it was ever published, Spielberg found out about it. And he had always been obsessed with dinosaurs since he was a little kid, as many kids are.
Yeah.
So he read a galley of the book, which is like, I guess in the publishing world, is a preliminary version of the publication. And he was like, yeah, that's it. I want to direct it. And Crichton had obviously sold his books before, and he didn't want another bidding war and that kind of stuff. So he kind of backed Spielberg and Universal, which has, you know, been in production with Amblin and Spielberg forever. They're like his productions company. So Crichton backed them and kind of pushed for them to be chosen, for them to, you know, come through the bidding war and buy the rights. Another director that did want to purchase the rights was James Cameron.
Oh.
Yeah. He has said that his version would be a lot darker, but...
I could see that, for sure.
Absolutely. But he did say that after watching Spielberg's film, he realized he was not the right director for this film.
Interesting.
He was like, yeah, Spielberg was the person to make this. And yeah, they won the rights 6 months before the book ever came out.
Nice.
Yeah, which is how it happens in the movie world sometimes. And Crichton actually wrote the first draft of the script, and obviously he's credited, but he was like, I'm going to write the first draft and that's it. I don't want to like be the screenwriter of this.
Interesting.
He said he would write it and then he could hand it off to another writer who could then improve upon it. And at that point, Spielberg was working on Hook, which, have you ever seen that film?
No.
It's a kind of a 90s film that a lot of people grow up with.
I don't believe I've ever seen a Spielberg movie.
Oh, is this your first?
I think it might be.
I mean, yeah, that makes sense because you haven't seen a lot of films.
Yeah.
Well, I'm very intrigued when we get to the what you thought part.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so Spielberg was working on Hook, and so he brought in the writer that wrote that, Malia Scotch-Marmo, and he asked her to write it. She agreed. I mean, she spent 5 months on a draft. Ultimately, it didn't really work out. Spielberg wasn't fully satisfied with it, but he kind of kept her on to give notes on future scripts as he brought on David Koepp. And so kind of with input from Crichton and Marmo, he wrote the script that would eventually be used. And it should be noted that Marmo isn't credited.
Yes.
Which I did want to shout out because I wonder how much of that is that she's a woman
Right.
in the 90s.
Yeah.
Obviously, this is a big film.
Yeah.
It was always approached as a blockbuster film. And so a lot of big names were cast. You know, for the role of Alan Grant, which is the main film, names like Kurt Russell, Richard Dreyfuss, William Hurt, Harrison Ford were thrown around.
I've heard of these people before.
I was wondering how many of them you have heard of.
I've heard of all of them. I don't know if I could recall their faces right away.
Yeah, but we will watch films with all of them.
Right.
Yeah. But all of them either were considered or turned it down before Sam Neill came on. And I think I'm really happy that Sam Neill is Alan
I thought
Grant.
he was good. Yeah.
Yeah. I think he's excellent in this film. Laura Dern was cast after Robin Wright and Juliette Binoche turned on the role, which I don't know if... Well, no, you've seen Princess Bride. Robin Wright plays...
Oh, yeah.
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 I think she would have been good too, but I do think that Laura Dern brings something special to the role.
Yeah.
Her like special something. I don't know.
Before we recorded today, David had asked me if I knew who Laura Dern was.
Yeah.
I said, of course I know who she is. I've seen Big Little Lies, which I think she's incredible in.
Yeah, she's a fantastic
She's
actress.
really good. Yeah. I thought she was very good in this. And no, I did not recognize her until the end.
Well, and this is a little connection to Mulholland Drive because Laura Dern, along with actor Kyle MacLachlan, are two of David Lynch's frequent collaborators. They're both kind of like his muses when it comes to actors.
Interesting.
So yeah, there's a little connection there. Interestingly enough, the role of Ian Malcolm was supposed to be cut out of the film because they were like, it's a long novel. They cut a lot of stuff out. So they're like, why don't we just connect like the characters of Alan Grant and Ian Malcolm?
Interesting.
Yeah, because they're like, it's too much. But Jeff Goldblum came in and, you know, excelled in his
he did his thing.
Goldblum-iness. He did his thing. And everyone was like, okay, we have to keep him in this film as Jeff, you know, played by Jeff Goldblum. So he stayed in.
I do know who Jeff Goldblum is. I have seen him in things. I did not realize that was him, unfortunately.
Yeah. He is, I think he's great in this film. He makes the character of Ian Malcolm. I think if another actor played him, it would have been nice, but not nearly as fun.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think he was he stood out a lot to me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And it was weird because he's like a goth rock star who's a scientist. And I just like, it's so strange.
You're like, how is this man a mathematician?
Yeah, but it works.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah. I recommend that you go watch Jeff Goldblum's interviews because that man is quirky and crazy as hell.
Yes.
Yeah.
Have you heard his song with Ariana Grande?
No.
It just came out like a month ago. Also, that's a connection there.
Yeah, that's amazing because that's this whole episode pretty much.
Yeah. So there you go. That's actually the whole reason we did it.
Yeah. It wasn't because they're just two iconic, you know, things. It's because of this one song.
Because this one song that just came out. So listen to it. It's very interesting. It's kind of like jazz.
It makes sense. I feel like you would listen to jazz.
Yes, definitely.
Onto the casting of the kids.
Yes.
Which is always a difficult process. But Ariana Richard, who plays Lex, says that she was cast because her scream was so loud. It woke up Spielberg's wife when he played the tape at home. She thought the kids were in trouble and she like came running to their rooms. So that's why she was cast. And Joseph Mazzello, who plays Tim, had actually auditioned for Hook. Because that is a story of Robin Hood and Hook. Mm-hmm. So obviously they need all the Lost Boys. But Spielberg thought he was just too young, but he was really impressed by him. So he said, you know what, kid? I promise you in the future, we're going to work on something together.
Interesting.
And so around came Jurassic Park and it was like, guess what? It's time. Which I thought was very sweet. I think Spielberg is known for being able to work with children very well, child actors, you know, especially after like E.T. Mm-hmm. And I think the fact that he did something like keep his promise to this kid, being like, I'm going to cast you in something in the future, kind of shows why.
Yeah.
In some ways.
I love child actors. Like, I think having children in your movie like makes it so much better.
Yeah.
I also love a good like childhood and like coming of age story.
Yeah.
So I think that I am going to be a big fan of Steven Spielberg.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I think you're gonna be a very big fan of E.T.,
Yeah.
which is my personal favorite film of his out of what I've seen.
Okay.
So we'll see. Talking about Jurassic Park, we got to talk about the dinosaurs.
Oh, there's dinosaurs?
Oh my God, I had no idea. They were created through a mix of CGI and animatronics. A lot of people say this is the first CGI film.
Oh.
It wasn't actually the first film to
Yeah.
use CGI, but they mean like, oh, first one to have photorealistic CGI that worked. And it's true.
It was actually surprisingly good.
It holds up incredibly well. I don't think it's like aged at all in terms of its CGI, really. And I think a large reason why is because they used so many animatronics for the film. Like, I think a lot of people forget that it was a mix,
Yeah.
and that mix is what made it so successful. And he knew that the success of the film, Spielberg knew that rested on the dinosaurs. If they were not 100% realistic, the movie would not work at all. Initially, they were going to use stop motion animation together with the animatronics. And the animatronics were created by Stan Winston, who was known for, working with animatronics and special effects and stuff like that. And Phil Tippett was famous for creating this stop motion technique that added motion blur and stuff and made it more realistic, but it still wasn't 100%. So Spielberg was like, I want to find something that will make it 100% realistic. And that's when Dennis Muren from ILM came and said, I think we could do this with CGI. And Spielberg said, well, prove it. And he did. They made several tests and they were so realistic that Phil Tippett was like, I think I'm extinct after seeing that. And they use that in the film. In the part where Alan Grant says, I'm out of a job. And Ian Malcolm says, I think you mean extinct.
How like far along did they get on the like stop motion stuff? Did they like finish it and then?
Tippett did something very smart. Pretty much he and his animators had been studying the movements for dinosaurs for their stop motion so well that they had become experts on it. So instead of just being like, okay, bye, we're going to throw away all of our work, what they ended up doing was they joined ILM and used their skills to kind of direct the motion of the CGI by using their stop motion.
Interesting.
Yeah, so they were able to actually take their skills and adapt and help the project in another way, which that's kind of like the story of Hollywood.
Yeah.
Of where, oh no, my skill isn't needed anymore. Well, I guess it's time to adapt. And I think it's very smart that he adapted and helped keep his team employed and to learn this new skill that would keep them employed in the future working with CGI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Again, I say go look more into it because there's a lot more information on it. And you can see documentaries where they actually show, them doing the stop motion and the CGI and all that kind of stuff. They filmed the outside, like exterior shots in Kauai, Hawaii, and the rest in the Universal Studio lots in Los Angeles. Incidentally, there were on the last day of filming, Hurricane Iniki came and like trashed the island of Kauai. They were okay though. They like ended up surviving and production wasn't delayed or anything like that. I did want to bring one like special effect up though, and that was the cup of water in the car when you hear the T-Rex's steps. Do you have an idea of how they possibly made that?
I never even thought about it.
Spielberg first got the idea when he was driving his car and blasting Earth, Wind, and Fire because he saw like the water, doing the little tremor like that. But he was like, how the hell am I going to do this? And he gave that role to, Michael Lantieri was in charge of the dinosaur VFX on set. And he was like, I don't know how the hell I'm going to do this. Like, we can't blast music during filming.
Okay, I was gonna say, can I guess? Is it like a super low sub that isn't like perceptible to human ear?
You're very, very close.
Okay.
One day at home, Michael Lantieri was playing guitar, and he got a cup of water and he put it on the guitar and strummed one of the strings, and he noticed that it got the perfect effect. So they literally took a guitar string and strung it up under the car and plucked it to get that effect. Yeah.
See, people don't do this anymore. Now it's just like, oh, the computer will do it. We'll fix it in post.
Yeah. I love that fact, and that's why I thought I have to bring it up.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And now to talk about post-production and the craziest fact about this film, and that's the fact that Spielberg made Jurassic Park and Schindler's List back to back.
Yeah.
You probably know something about this.
I do know something about that because we had talked about doing a Jurassic Park Schindler's List double feature episode.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
I do want to ask, before you get into this, what was the budget on this film?
It's lower than you think. It's $63 million.
Okay, that's even lower than when you said it's lower than you think, because I was thinking like 200 million.
It was the 90s, of course, but it's very low.
Crazy, actually.
I mean, I think a part of it was the fact that, you're not paying so much money to like CGI the way that studios are now. And also it's Spielberg who knows how to make a film from the get-go and doesn't have to go and like do a bunch of reshoots,
right?
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think that's probably why he was able to bring it in for $63 million.
And I'd assume most of the stuff is just on location.
That's
you're
lot
just
of it
like
too.
Out in the woods and you need like a fence, you know?
A lot of the night scenes were filmed in like studio lots. So that did help them to, control things.
Yeah.
But I think the fact that so much of it was an animatronic helped like get things moving a lot faster. And would help the actors with genuine reactions to seeing a giant T-Rex standing over you, stuff like that. And they had a giant like life-size T-Rex animatronic. Yeah. And I believe that one time like someone working on it got trapped in his mouth or something. I remember hearing that somewhere. Wow. Yeah. So it was kind of scary.
Yeah.
But Spielberg had been wanting to adapt the book Schindler's Ark into film since the 80s. He'd been wanting to do it forever. But it's very dark subject matter, and Spielberg wants to shoot in black and white. Even then, studios were not going to be like, you can make it straight off the bat. Obviously, now they would never even make this film, but back then they were like, even though it's Spielberg. But finally, they agreed to finance and let him direct that film if he made Jurassic Park, which would be kind of the profitable film, the blockbuster.
Yeah.
The problem is that in order to catch the winter season that he needed for Schindler's List, he would have to finish filming Jurassic Park, only have a little, like a week or something like that, or several weeks to work on, the edit of Jurassic Park before he had to go. So he did not have time to pretty much stay and, fully finish the CGI, all that kind of stuff on Jurassic Park. So what he ended up doing is he kind of locked the picture because the editing was started during the filming of Jurassic Park. That kind of made him comfortable enough to leave for Poland, and he brought people to kind of oversee the rest for him. He brought in Kathleen Kennedy, as I said, we mentioned her, to act as the day-to-day producer. And then he brought in his good friend and the person that created ILM, George Lucas.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, to overlook the more technical aspects.
Interesting.
Yeah. The problem was, though, that even with the help of Lucas and Kennedy, Spielberg still was the person with the final say. So he still had to see everything. So during the filming of Schindler's List, during the day, he would film these very traumatic and heavy scenes. And then during the night, he would hop on a call with ILM and discuss, does this dinosaur look good enough for this shot? Stuff like that. And as he had said, this made him very bitter towards Hollywood due to the fact that it kind of forced him to do it this way. I mean, I actually have a quote from him. It built a tremendous amount of resentment and anger that I had to do this, that I actually had to go from the heft of Schindler's List to dinosaurs chasing jeeps. And all I could express was how angry that made me at the time. I was grateful later in June, though, but until then, it was a burden. And I wanted to bring up that the way that he kind of coped with this was that he would call Robin Williams, and Robin Williams would make a bunch of jokes and like cheer him up pretty much, which I think is so sweet.
That's very interesting.
Yeah. But finally, his nightmare ended when CGI was wrapped and the film was finished in 1993. It opened wide on June 11th, and it beat out Spielberg's own E.T. to become the highest grossing film at that point.
Wow.
Yeah. And together with future re-releases, it has made $1.058 billion.
That's pretty successful, I would say.
A very successful film, especially on a $63 million budget.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah. And of course, it's a cult class, or not a cult classic.
It's a classic.
It's a classic.
Yeah.
Is 100% a 90s classic, as you said. And it was nominated and won Best Sound Editing, Best Sound in general, and Best Visual Effects at the 66th Oscars.
Wow.
So,
I would not have expected it to win Oscars because I feel like blockbuster movies are always like, who cares,
Yeah, but
I don't know if it was different back then.
I mean, it definitely was different. For instance, Star Wars was nominated for a lot of Oscars, the original, and won quite a bit. And also when it comes to Spielberg, I feel like he is in this kind of different sphere where he does direct blockbusters, but at the same time, not only does he direct films that aren't blockbusters, even his blockbusters feel less like blockbusters than other blockbusters.
They're very cinematic.
They're very cinematic, and they're also very personal. It's kind of like the Spielberg touch. And because of that, I do feel like they are more successful at the Academy Awards, maybe.
Interesting.
Obviously, like, he didn't win his awards or his Oscars for, his more blockbuster films. He won his Best Director for Schindler's List, which is his less, blockbustery, sort of more dramatic film. So I'm not saying that like he won or his actors won for these films, but they did get nominated and they did win.
Yeah.
And for instance, like a film like E.T., which is it's a blockbuster, highest grossing film before this, I still think like it could have won Best Picture, and I'd be like, hell yeah, that's 100% deserved.
Yeah.
So I feel like he is in this kind of weird.
There's not many
between the two.
Yeah, there's not many people that can do that.
Because like Scorsese, he's not a blockbuster director,
right?
Tarantino, he's not a block. So I feel like Spielberg is one of the few, if not the only person. Because like George Lucas, he's a blockbuster director, but I wouldn't say he's like an Academy Award, right?
I agree.
I'm not passing judgment on him. Just the films. That's not the style of films he makes. Yeah. But let's get into it.
Yeah.
I'm very intrigued what you thought with this being your first Spielberg film.
Well, I want to say a few things about the story. Okay, I've heard about
Absolutely.
this. I've heard about this movie forever, throughout my entire life, of it being really good. And I'm always surprised by a lot of these older movies that I just keep hearing about because they don't start the way that I think they would. This movie does not start the way I thought it would. I didn't know it was an island. I guess like it makes sense why it is, but I didn't know. I didn't know it's 100 miles off the coast of Costa Rica or whatever. Yeah. And then also stupidly in my head, I didn't ever think that they shot this in Hawaii. I don't know why. Yeah. I was just like, oh, they probably shot it in Central America.
That's what you would think, and they actually considered it, but Spielberg was thinking about the infrastructure that they would need to film. And he was like, Hawaii just makes sense. And he had filmed there before. So he knew what it was. Yeah. But he did actually consider Costa Rica itself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. The way it looks is very like kind of Central American.
Yeah.
But,
very.
I mean, tropical in a way.
Yeah.
But I thought that was very interesting. I didn't know the angle that they were going to take with the scientists, like seeing a big theme park. I was assuming it was going to be from the point of view of the scientists of being like, we've created this and we screwed up. So I liked that a lot more because I was like expecting, I guess what I was expecting. I was like, it's going to be fine.
It took you by surprise.
Yes. And it also felt like a way better way to do this movie, where it actually feels interesting.
Well, and I think that's the way that they approached it with, kind of the, you could almost say philosophical discussions on the right and wrong of making these dinosaurs. It makes it a lot more deeper than just, they're dinosaurs and they're going to start eating people, in a way that if it was about the, scientists that didn't make the dinosaurs, to your point, it would not have had that depth.
Yeah.
And I think that's really what is missing from the sequels. Because I've seen the second, the third, and the first Jurassic World.
Does it just go directly into Jurassic World after Jurassic Park?
After Jurassic Park 3, it goes into...
there's two other...
There's Lost World, Jurassic Park 3, and then the Jurassic World film
I assume
starts.
those are not Spielberg.
The second one was Spielberg, although
the second one
I don't think it's that good.
Okay.
And I think a large part of that is because, like, there are still themes, and the kind of the themes of, is this right, continue, but they do take kind of a backseat, and it is much more about, dinosaurs eating people, we gotta run.
Yeah.
I think it loses a lot of the depth and maturity of this film.
Which is very Hollywood to do.
Yeah,
you know?
it is.
Like,
You know,
ooh,
just
big
cashing in.
dinosaurs. Let's
Yeah.
strip the thing that made the movie interesting
And I'll
look
say-
at these flashy things.
Yeah,
you know?
I'll say they're still fun. Like,
Yeah.
it's always enjoyable to watch dinosaurs eating people. I'm not going to say they're like terrible films, not at all, but it definitely isn't anywhere near the level of this film. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's what sets it apart. And that's what sets quite a few blockbusters from this era, especially Spielberg's. And that goes to the point of what we're discussing before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think after watching this that I will be a big fan of Spielberg, like I said before.
Yeah. And we did start with one of his like best films.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's just really interesting because I'm starting to realize that maybe like these movies that are so popular are actually popular for the right reasons.
Yeah.
You know? Like I always just assume when something's popular, it's like, oh, well, people don't understand it the same way. But this is really good.
That's an interesting point because I do feel like there are some films that are popular and then you go and watch them and you're like, why is this popular?
And that's usually what I've experienced.
And I've heard that that's certainly the case for a film like American Beauty or something. I haven't seen it, so I'm not going to say that is the case, but that's what I've heard. But I think when it comes to films like Jurassic Park, for instance, they are absolutely popular for a reason. It's also the type of films where no matter how high your expectations are, because the film is never going to be exactly what you think it is, it can't really be lowered, I think.
I was very impressed with this. And also, we talked about John Williams briefly.
Yeah.
Like, I just know.
Yeah.
You know, there's just a thing about John Williams scores when you hear them. It's just like, oh, yeah, this is John Williams. There's just something so iconic about like the way it is. And like you get the big shot of them looking at the mountains and you got the John Williams score and it's like, this is like
perfect.
It's like Star Wars. It's like, it's a blockbuster.
And it's
you know?
interesting with John Williams, even though you know every single time you hear a score that it's him, it doesn't take away from it.
Oh,
you
no,
know?
not at all.
It
Because he's
kind
so
of
good.
adds to it.
Yeah.
Well, I actually wanted to bring up the score. I'm happy you brought it up because if you listen to the score before you watch the film, which is what happened with me, I remember the first time I heard it, I was like, this is the score for a dinosaur movie? That doesn't sound like dinosaur music. You know, like I'm like, what is this? But then you watch the movie with the score and it's perfect.
It really is.
And I think that kind of like connects with how the film is not what you really expect, and it's a lot more than just a dinosaur film.
Yeah. I wanted to ask one other thing that I don't know if you'll know the answer to. Did Spielberg kind of invent this font being used for like wildlife things?
He might have. I don't know.
Like this reminds me of like the Animal Kingdom font.
Yeah.
And like, you know, when you go to wildlife parks and they have that kind of thing, I was like, oh.
And you know, like
is
the little
that-
kits where you dig out the dinosaurs.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I could see that though.
Okay.
Because,
I
you
didn't
know, I could 100% see that. I also wanted to ask, because we haven't really done it before where we ask about specific like areas of the film before, but I want to ask what you thought of the performances, because there are two child actors in this.
Yeah, I think they're both very good.
Yeah,
I think
100%.
they're very strong. We haven't had a child actor yet that I haven't liked.
Yeah.
So that's a good sign.
Absolutely.
You know? I mean, I think that comes with the territory of having good films that are going to have good
absolutely.
actors in them.
No, yeah, and I think that it makes sense why their performances are really, really good, because it's a Spielberg film who knows how to work with films. I also love just the core cast performances.
I agree.
think, especially if you consider that a lot of times they were reacting to nothing, they do a exceptional job.
I agree.
Yeah.
I wanted to say that I thought Wayne Knight is his name, right?
Yeah, Wayne Knight.
Newman.
Newman. Yeah.
I don't know why he's in like the same role. I don't know if this was like if he was seen in Seinfeld, or because I don't know when he like starts in the course of the show and they're like, ooh, we should do that.
Yeah.
You know, like in the movie.
To be honest, I kind of feel like it's just Wayne Knight himself, you know?
Maybe. I think he's really funny.
He is really funny. He's great in this film.
And then I also wanted to say, I didn't realize that was Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah.
He's really good in this.
He is.
And
This is
I
one
like
of his
like
first bigger roles.
really okay
Yeah.
because I like how like he was subdued, but like you can tell he's still like stressed out about everything.
Yeah.
I think he had a really good like take on the character.
You can like his, he isn't F-bombing yet,
Yeah,
but you can feel that the F-bombs are inside of him.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely.
He's getting angry.
Yeah. I also wanted to shout out, I want to shout out the whole cast. Obviously, I love both Sam Neill and Laura Dern. We're definitely going to see more films with this, and they're always fantastic. I will say, not my favorite performance from either of them, not because they don't give good ones, just because they're in other films where, maybe they have like just meteor characters, stuff like that. And they're just exceptional actors. Out of what I've seen, this is my favorite Jeff Goldblum performance. I haven't seen that many, though.
Yeah.
Just shout out. Like, I haven't seen The Fly, which he's very famous for, or a lot of his other films, but he is just so much fun in this role.
He's very good. It's so natural.
It is so, honestly, it's just him probably, but
Yeah.
it works seamlessly. And I think he brings a lot of the levity that you need to this film.
I agree.
Yeah.
But he also like brings a lot of the questions.
Yes.
Also, I don't know who plays the lawyer. I thought he was really good.
He's so good.
He's very funny.
Well, Connection, he is in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Oh, yes. I have seen that.
Yeah, he plays one of the motel like people or like cashiers.
Interesting.
I put that 2 and 2 after rewatching like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles like 20 times. But yeah, he's in that too.
Yeah.
He's really fun.
He's very
as
good.
the sleazy lawyer.
Yeah.
We forgot. What was your score for this film now that we've discussed it?
And I forgot to even like think about that for a while. And then I was like, oh yeah, I remember what I gave it. This is a 3.5 for me.
Whoa.
What do you mean?
That's so low. I thought it would have been higher.
Well, I was thinking it was going to be a 4.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I think I'm going to like other Spielberg movies better. So
That tracks.
maybe this will go up. I do think it's really good. And that a 3.5 is really good. That's the same as... I mean, I can't even think of all of the movies I've done. It's multiple Lord of the Rings. Mulholland Drive is a 3.5.
That's true. I will say I'm surprised.
Another Round is a 3.5.
Yeah. I am surprised. I think it will go up, to be honest.
I could see that.
But we'll see.
I don't know necessarily why I chose that.
But I mean, whatever you chose, that's your score.
It's definitely like right between a 3.5 and a 4 for me. Like, I don't know.
And
so
I mean, that's a good score.
I feel like it could definitely go up.
I could see it going up for sure.
Yeah.
Depending on like what other films we watch. Because I feel like once you start watching more Spielberg films, you'd be like, oh, this is like kind of in between his best films and his really good films, So maybe that will kind of push it up or maybe down. Like, I don't know. But
is this a 5 for you?
This is a 5 for me.
Yeah.
It was at a 4.5 for a long time until finally I was like, I don't have any gripes with it. Like, there's nothing about it that is at all wrong in my mind. Like, I think it's another kind of perfect film.
It is.
I'm just going to give it a 5.
It is really good. I
yeah.
do think, I don't remember how long it is.
Yeah.
But I
do you
feel
think it's
like
a little overlong?
I was going to say, I feel like I could see another 20 minutes, maybe even, of like kind of backstory of like the scientists on the island and kind of like how the park was like thought of. And maybe that's what we get in the sequels. I don't know.
You do kind of get that more in the sequels.
Yeah.
In the Jurassic World film, for instance. Because in that film, that version of the park was successful in actually opening. And then things go wrong. So you do kind of see more of the park.
Okay, that's interesting.
Which I do think is an interesting idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's interesting because I feel like it's a 2-hour film.
I feel like it's short. 2:10.
Yeah. But that's again the power of Spielberg to make it feel like an hour.
Yeah,
hour and a half.
It did not feel like a long film at all. I was kind of like, oh, that's it.
It's
like I was kind of
already?
like, there should be more. But I feel like so maybe it will go up in the future. But I do think that I am going to be a big fan of Spielberg.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. And I will say I think it could go back down to 4.5 because honestly, a reason why I could have given it a 4.5 is because I do like other Spielberg films even more.
E.T.?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, that's my favorite film. That's a 5 out of 5. And that's like undisputed. That's never going down.
Yeah. Jaws?
That's like I think I give it a 4. It's a good film.
Oh, yeah. Interesting.
But, you know, I think...
Those are the two. I thought Schindler's List.
I haven't seen it.
Oh.
I have not seen a lot of Spielberg films. Okay. So we'll have to add it.
I know. I asked you about The Fabelmans because I'm very curious about that one.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
But we will discuss The Fabelmans when we watch E.T. a little because there's actually some connections there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Which doesn't seem like there should be, but there are.
Yeah. Isn't The Fabelmans like kind of about his life?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we will
And it's
see
also
that.
like a coming of age film, so I think I'm really gonna like
Yeah.
it. You know.
But we'll see that E.T. Well, E.T. is in many ways the same thing. So we will discuss that actually
Okay.
when we watch that.
Should
Yeah.
we do a double episode of those two?
Hell yeah. 3-hour, 4-hour episode. Let's do it.
Exactly. Yeah. We're already over 2 hours right
Exactly.
now. I don't know with the final edit where we'll be, probably approaching 2 hours quickly.
Or
But,
over, like a little bit over.
yeah. I mean, I don't know how much I have to cut out.
Yeah,
I don't know
we'll
how
see.
much we screwed up in our takes of, of
Hopefully
a few
not too
things.
much.
Exactly.
But yeah, I think for me, it is at a 5 right now, but it might go down to 4.5.
Okay. It might go up for me.
Yeah,
So
but still a fantastic film.
I agree.
I did want to close out with a Letterboxd review, which I found and I loved. This is by the user Kiara or Ciara. I don't know which pronunciation, but I strongly relate to Jeff Goldblum on this film because in this scenario, I too would just walk around being sexy and flirting with Laura Dern, then get injured at literally the first instance of danger and spend the rest of the time lying dramatically on a table, still being sexy and annoying everyone, but with my top off this time.
I saw that same one and I thought this is a great review.
Yep. I had to read it. Shout out to Kiara.
Yes. Does that wrap us up for this
I
week?
think that wraps us up.
Nice.
Yeah, as usual.
Very successful week, I would say.
Oh, very, very high scores this week.
Yes.
Yeah. As usual, follow us on Instagram. Leave us a rating. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. You can also email us at upcpod at gmail.com. I forgot that part. If you so desire. Yeah, and follow us on
Letterboxd and Rate Your Music. All that information will be in the description. It's all
That's
on our
right.
Instagram page.
all on our link tree.
Yes, and which please follow the Instagram because we're going to announce what we're watching and listening to for next week, and you're going to want to know what it is so you can be ready.
You want to stay on track and watch and film before you listen to the episode.
Exactly.
Or during.
Yeah, and you want to be ready when it's midnight on Sunday, and you're going to say, it's time for me to listen right now.
That's right. When you're staying up.
I'm going to be staying up until 2:30 to finish this episode because it's so long.
Exactly. Even though you got classes at 5 a.m. the next morning, you're staying up. That's
Exactly.
right.
But thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Have a great one.